increases, the ones place is going to always be a 3. So we know that if the power is divisible by 4, then the ones place is 1, right? Okay, so if we want, it's asking us to find 3 to the 15th. 3 to the 15th. Now, what we can do here is do 15 divided by 4, because we know that for every 4 powers there's going to be a 1 here. And like if we find that it's like 1 less power of 4, then we know it's going to be a 7. Or 2 less is 9, or 3 less is 3. So we know that 15 divided by 4 is going to be 3.75. 3.75. And we know this is equal to 3 1/4, right? Or 3 3/4, whoops. So we know it's not a full 4, which would be a 1 ones place, but it's 1/4 less. So 1/4 less, as I said before, it's going to be this 7. So we know the ones place has got to be a 7. If this was 2/4 or 1/2, then we'd go down 2 places, down to 3 to the 2nd, which would be a 9 ones place. And if it was 3 1/4, then we'd go down and it'd be a 3 in the ones place. If it was just a plain 3, then we know that the 1 would be in the ones place. Hope you understand that. That's what the pattern is. So you know the ones place is going to be a 1 or a 7. And then it asks you if there's a similar pattern for 4 to the 1, 4 to the 2, 4 to the 3, 4 to the 4, 4 to the 4. And yes, there is. When you look at that, you see that there's a pattern that repeats 4, 6, 4, 6. I think. Yeah. I think so. 4, 6, 4, 6. Let me check that. Yeah. So the ones place is always going to be a 4 or a 6 based on whichever one you're on. So if it's divisible by 2, then it's going to be a 6. If it's divisible, or if it's 1/2, let's see. If your exponent comes out to be something over 2, or like a whole number in 1/2, then it's going to be a 4. If you can see that. So like if I had 4 to the 5th, that divided by 2 would give me 6 1/2, which is, okay, we know that this is going to be not whole. I don't know how to say that. But in this case, you're not dividing by 4 because the pattern is only 4 and 6s. 4 and 6s. If it was 4, 6, 1, 3, then you divide by 4. If it was 4, 6, 1, 4, 6, 1, then you divide by 3, each exponent. Because you know that every third one, or fourth one, or whatever number it is going to be a certain number. So that pattern occurs between both those numbers. Don't hold that true for all numbers, because I don't really know if there's a pattern between all numbers like that. I really don't think there is. So okay, solve it. One number is 12 less than the other. The product is -32. What's the least value the smaller number can be? I'm going to blow your brain here and do something that you will do in Algebra 1, I think. Or maybe even Geometry, I don't know. But, okay, one number is 12 less than the other. So one number is 12 less than the other number. So this is the one number, it's 12 less than x. Now it says their product is -32, so x times y is equal to -32. Yes, we have 2 variables, and that's going to be kind of tough once we get into solving this. Normally, I think you guys would do guess and check, right? And just think of like different products of 32. like 8 and 4 or 16 and 2, and then try those out. Well, I'm gonna teach you another way. Don't feel like you're gonna be confused, because I know it'll be confusing. You won't learn this till like 9th grade. But okay, what we can use in this equation is something called substitution. Now, if we look at this first equation, can we figure something out from, like, can we find something? Can we use something in this equation to find either y or x? Well, we can see that x minus 12 is the same as just plain y. And it says that xy is equal to negative 32. So what can we do? We could substitute what y is equal to into this y over here. So what we have is x times our substituted y, which is equal to x minus 12, is equal to negative 32. All I did was substitute that y out for x minus 12 because I knew that was equal to it. Now if you had something like 2y is equal to 3x minus 4, then to get a substitution for y, you'd have to divide by 2 and get a y on one side. Then you have y is equal to something. You can always substitute. Substituting is a really good method of doing things. So now we have this equation. And you know how to distribute, right? So x to the 1, you're multiplying, so you add exponents. X squared minus 12x is equal to negative 32. Okay, I'm going to erase the rest of this stuff because I'm going to show you something that you will not understand, but I'm going to show you anyway, just so that you can act smart in your class when you get there. Okay, so we have this equation. You can't really solve that just by looking at it. That would take you forever. So we can do two things. One, okay, when you see this equation in geometry, you'll learn to always write it like this. So you're going to go x squared minus 12x, and you're going to add the 32 on this side, leaving 0 on the other side. This just makes it easier to work with. What we're finding is when x is equal to 0, okay? There's two things you can do. One is something called factoring, which means using two what you call polynomials or binomials, multiplying them together, and when you distribute them out by using, you're going to use this in Algebra 1, using the one of the distributive properties, which means that you're going to have something like x plus 3 and x minus 2, and the way you distribute it is this times this, this times this, this times this, this times this. So you're taking both these numbers and multiplying them by both these numbers, right? And then you're going to get something like this. This is called a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. So we can try and factor this. What we can look at first is, since we know this last bit right here is 3 times negative 2, we know that's going to be this number right here, because that's the last number in the equation. So if we think of things that can multiply to 32, and then in the middle add up to negative 12, then we can figure out our factors. We know that our factors have to be x, two of them have to be x and x, because when you multiply x times x, you get x squared, right? And our next goal is to get 32 and negative 12. So let's think of factors of 32. 8 and 4, 8 times 4. Can we get 12 out of that? Yes, we can. So this is kind of tricky. You got to think about signs. So we think 8 and 4. That multiplies to 32 at the end. But now, to get 12, we have to somehow multiply these two and add it to multiply these two. Because these are going to be the same like term. They're just going to have one x in them, like this term. So if we have a 4x and an 8x and need to get a negative 12x, then both of these need to be negative. You need to have a negative 4x minus an 8x. So we're just going to put two minus signs right here. And is this going to give us positive 32? Heck yes it is, because negative 8 times negative 4 is going to be a positive 32. Negative times negative is positive. So we've just factored this equation. Don't forget this is equal to 0. Now to solve for x, what we can do is set this equal to 0 and this equal to 0. Just because